Bien le bonjour boys and girls, my name is DT, I'm a paper designer and welcome to my workshop. So, last time we asked you which starter from the first generation of Pokemon was the best, and you chose Charmander. Well, you were wrong, Squirtle is the best. So, for the second time, we asked you to choose between Squirtle and Bulbasaur, and this time, Squirtle actually won. But I have to admit, not by far, but still. So I guess today, we are gonna be making Squirtle. So let's start with a sphere. It's supposed to be this red color, like this one. Okay, this way we can see a little bit clearer. That could look really cool if I would inset those like this. Okay, I think his shell is looking really nice right now. The volume is really interesting here. So let's close this hole under his foot. He is looking really cool. I really love this shell. This shell is looking really nice. Okay, so let's put those inside like this. Okay, so now I'm only left with his tail. So how am I going to put his tail? Because I have to see in which position I want to put him afterwards. Because I really like this pose. I think this pose looks really cool. So if my Charmander is like this, I think those two together would look really nice. So maybe he would be standing like this, and I can use maybe a water bottle or something just to make him stand on this support. And then extrude those. Okay, so this is the weight paint mode, and this is essentially where I can decide the area that my bone is going to affect on my mesh. So if I select this arm, you can see all this green light that is showing. Every time I'm going to paint, you can see some areas that are going redder and redder. The more the color is close to red, it means that this bone is going to affect this zone. So if I move my bone, you can see that it's moving this shell here, and I don't want that. I have to put everything in blue so that the areas that are in blue are not affected by my mesh. On the side over here, like this. Okay, so let's have some fun with this Squirtle. Okay, so maybe he can do an up crunch like this. Maybe more like this. Okay, this is some crazy karate kung fu pose. I really like this. So now that this section of his tail is actually flapped, he is going to be a little bit more stable, and he might not actually need to have a support that will be holding him at the back here, but we'll see. I think I'm pretty happy with the 3D model right now, so I guess I will see you just in a few seconds where we'll be building this guy. This is going to be pretty fun to build. Okay, so we do have a few pieces ahead of us, so I think I'm going to start right now. Okay, so now I'm starting with my first piece of blue. And his first eye is done. Okay, so his second eye is complete. I'm just going to glue this on his face. I'm a little bit anxious to see if he's actually going to be able to stand on his tail. And the head is now complete. I think if I put it like this, it matches up the size of my face pretty well. Okay, I'm sorry. So the first arm is done, and now I'm going to put his arm next to his face. So the second arm is done. I really like how the shadows are forming over here. Okay, so this goes over here. I love the shell. The shell is looking so freaking cool. Can he actually break this? But before this, I'm going to show you guys something, because I started to notice that on my Squirtle over here, you can see some holes that are peeking through over here and over here. So one thing I can advise you guys is to actually cut a small piece of your paper like this, and then come and glue it on the inside. This is without the piece of paper, and this is with the piece. So of course you want to do this before you actually close the Papercraft. So let's move on to the second leg. Now this is starting to get a little bit tricky to access everything. Okay, I just realized this is looking a little bit weird. Now that everything has been closed, I can take my hands out of Squirtle's butt. Oh wait, I actually just realized. Maybe he can actually breakdance. Okay guys, this is the tricky part, because we are actually going to be closing the Papercraft. So one trick I can give you here, you want to start with a flap that allows you to open and close your piece like this. And then you want to take all the tape from all the flaps all around, and then try to just fiddle around one flap at a time. So there's no real solution here. I guess you just have to be patient and try to do your best to close the gaps and close the holes. So now I think I'm just going to put all the flaps inside like this. Use my finger here to open the piece like this so I can fit everything inside just like this. Use my tool to assist me. And then I'll just do my best to apply pressure. So I can also use this needle and insert it right here so I can have something to push against. The only thing is that when you take your needle out, you will have a little hole over here. So what you can do is then again take your needle and try to squeeze the paper to close that hole you just made. It's actually pretty small, so you don't even have to bother that much. But anyway guys, I think we are done.
I know I say this for pretty much every new project I end up making, but this guy is probably one of my favorite projects I've done so far. I mean, look at his face. Squirtle! My favorite thing about this whole build is definitely the shell. I think the shell looks freaking cool. All of those ridges really make the shadows pop and give a lot of volume to the piece, which I absolutely love. And even at the front, I mean, check those abs! Squirtle has a freaking 4-pack. And you know how we can make him look even cooler? So yeah, there's actually a couple of things we can talk about this project. First, I had a blast making him. Not only because he was my favorite out of the 3 starters, but because designing this guy turned out to be quite the challenge. As I said, I really wanted the pose to be dynamic, and I think this pose looks awesome. Kind of looks like he's jumping, you know, his face is really expressive, it looks like he's really happy, and he's doing this crazy kung fu karate kick, which is awesome. But when I was doing the 3D modeling, there was something I was worried about. And more specifically, if Squirtle was going to be able to stand on his tail on his own. And unfortunately, the answer is that he almost made it. So, as you guys can see, when I put him flat on the table, his body tends to want to fall backward, naturally. But that's actually because the way I designed him, because you know, I wanted him to be jumping back a little bit like this. So I did my best to place this tail in a way that it would be hopefully able to withstand its weight. But you know, sometimes a thing that works in the computer may not work in the real world, where you have to deal with materials, physics, gravity. So... But anyway, that's actually what I like about designing those Papercraft. It's that you have to think about how the material is going to... You have to think about the materials and how they're going to interact into the real world. But thankfully, there is an easy fix to this. When you're going to display this guy, all you have to do is to find an object that is roughly 13 or 14 centimeters high, like this tube of glue. Then you're going to put your Squirtle flat like this, take your object, put it right under the shell, and then voila. So this way your object is going to carry the weight of the shell. And from the front, you can't even see it anyway, so meh. So let me bring the whole family here. I really love seeing those 3 together, and I can't wait for the last member to finally join in so the family could be complete. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what you'd like to see me build next time. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and until then I will see you in the next workshop. Iko!